Welcome to video series. What you'll learn in this video: tryptophan pathway in a simplified way, biochemical basis of disorders like carcinoid syndrome, Hartman's disease, important MCQ discussion, probable university exams, and memory trick. Why is tryptophan metabolic? Include enumerate compounds derived from tryptophan, describe synthesis of serotonin from tryptophan, describe the synthesis of melatonin from tryptophan. From patient point of view, two important disorders you need to remember: one is carcinoid disease or the syndrome, and Hartman's. Now let's try to understand the tryptophan metabolism in detail. Tryptophan, this is the main pathway of tryptophan. Tryptophan is acted upon by tryptophan pyrrolase enzyme. It's a dioxygenase where both the molecules of water and oxygen are incorporated to tryptophan to form N-formyl kynurenine. Now this formyl group is donated to tetrahydrofolate, which gets converted to formyl tetrahydrofolate, and N-formyl kynurenine gets converted to kynurenine. In the next step, it undergoes hydroxylation to form 3-hydroxykynurenine. So in the next step, alanine is released from this 3-hydroxykynurenine by the enzyme kynureninase, and this requires pyridoxal phosphate, active form of B6 as coenzyme, and 3-hydroxykynurenine gets converted to 3-hydroxyanthranilic acid. Now this undergoes two different pathways. It can get converted to amino carboxymuconaldehyde, wherein the carboxyl group is removed and gets converted to ketoadipic acid, and this loses the amino group and gets converted to acetoacetyl CoA. Now this acetoacetyl CoA is ketone body and it will enter the ketogenic pathway. So 97% of the tryptophan molecule get converted to acetoacetyl CoA. The other pathway undergone by 3-hydroxyanthranilic acid is it gets converted to quinolinic acid. This accepts phosphoribosyl pyrophosphate PRPP, catalyzed by the enzyme QPRTase and get converted to nicotinic acid. This undergoes phosphorylation with the ATP being the phosphate donor and gets converted to niacin. The active form of niacin is NAD, and it can either get converted to NAD and NADP. 3% of the tryptophan molecule undertake this particular pathway. Now, just to summarize this, tryptophan is an essential amino acid which has to be consumed in the diet. It is both glucogenic and ketogenic. It is glucogenic because the 3-hydroxykynurenine forms alanine, and this alanine undergoes transamination to form pyruvate, and pyruvate undergoes gluconeogenesis to form glucose. That is why tryptophan is glucogenic. Ketogenic because it forms acetoacetyl CoA, which will enter the ketogenic pathway. Apart from that, tryptophan produces niacin. For 60 milligram of tryptophan forms 1 milligram of niacin. This is the most important MCQ that will be asked in your university exam or the internal assessment exam. Yeah, tryptophan by. Let's understand this pathway. So tryptophan undergoes hydroxylation to form 5-hydroxytryptophan, and the cofactor or the coenzyme is tetrahydropiperin, which gets converted to dihydropiperin. So tetrahydropiperin is regenerated with the help of NADH. So in the next step, 5-hydroxytryptophan undergoes decarboxylation to form 5-hydroxytryptamine. So this is nothing but serotonin. Now this serotonin undergoes acetylation with the help of acetyl transferase enzyme to form acetyl serotonin, and this undergoes methylation with the help of methionine, which acts as a methyl group donor. The active form of methionine, it is S-adenosine methionine, is a methyl group donor which gets converted to acetylenosyl homocysteine, and acetyl serotonin gets converted to melatonin. So serotonin also takes up another pathway where it is acted upon by monoamine oxidase, and which converts serotonin to 5-hydroxyindolactic acid. Now let's understand what is the importance of the serotonin. Serotonin is mainly produced in brain cells, mast cells, platelets, and the GIT cells. The functions of serotonin include: it acts as a neurotransmitter in brain, it acts as antidepressant, it regulates the mood, appetite, and temperature, it decreases pain sensitivity, it increases GIT motility, and it induces sleep. Sometimes this is asked as a reasoning based question. Serotonin induces sleep, justify. So the answer is, whenever we take a protein rich diet, what happens? There occurs competition among all the amino acids to enter into brain. So there is no conversion of tryptophan to serotonin, and there is no sleep, and it will keep us awake. On the contrary, when we take carbohydrate rich diet, so what happens is, along with carbohydrate we are taking protein rich diet. So this carbohydrate and protein rich diet induces synthesis of insulin, which will facilitate uptake of amino acids by all the peripheral cells and also by the hepatocytes for protein protein biosynthesis. Now tryptophan is free to enter into brain where it gets converted serotonin and induce sleep. So this is the most commonest reasoning based question asked, and this is the answer for that. Now, coming to degradation of serotonin, it is inactivated by monoamine oxidase. Now, this has got a therapeutic significance where monoamine oxidase inhibitor drugs are used in the treatment of depression. So, serotonin is not broken down to 5-hydroxyindolestic acid. Serotonin remains in the brain and it acts as antidepressant. Coming to clinical significance of serotonin, this itself is asked as a 3-marker question, or it can be asked as a 5-marker question. Carcinoid tumor. Normally 1% of tryptophan gets converted to serotonin, but in carcinoid tumor more than 60% of tryptophan is getting converted to serotonin. So the characteristic features include increased GIT motility, intermittent diarrhea because there is increased turnover of the GIT cells, sweating, flushing, and also hypertension. So these are the characteristic feature of carcinoid syndrome. So the other compound that is produced from tryptophan by this minor pathway is melatonin. Now this melatonin production mainly takes place in pineal gland, and the functions of melatonin include diurnal variation, circadian rhythm, and maintenance of sleep-wake cycle. Melatonin itself will be asked as a 3-marker question, or it can be asked along with its pathway as a 5-marker question. Now there is a difference between diurnal variation and circadian rhythm. Now in diurnal variation is under the influence of environmental factors, but circadian rhythm operates even in absence of the environmental factors. So the good example is the release of hormones. Some hormones are released in the morning time and some are released in the evening time, and maintenance of body temperature all follow these two pathways, either the diurnal variation or the circadian rhythm. The other important function of melatonin is maintenance of sleep cycle. So whenever light falls on retina, this inhibits the biosynthesis of melatonin. So there is no melatonin and we remain awake. So when there is no light, what happens is this stimulates the synthesis of melatonin, and melatonin will induce sleep. So that's the reason why we usually switch off the lights whenever we need to take rest. So this was all about serotonin and melatonin synthesis from tryptophan. So this is one more minor pathway where tryptophan is degraded in the intestine, and the pathway is as follows. Tryptophan undergoes transamination to form indole pyruvic acid. So the amino group is donated to alpha ketoglutarate, which gets converted to its amino acid, that is glutamate. In the next step, indole pyruvic acid undergoes decarboxylation to form indole acetic acid. This further undergoes decarboxylation to form scatol. Scatol gets converted to indole, indoxyl sulfate, and indican, which gets excreted in feces. So this part of the pathway is taking place in the intestine. So one significance is associated with tryptophan at the level of small intestine, where there is defective absorption of tryptophan and other neutral amino acids like phenylalanine, tyrosine, isoleucine, valine. So these are not absorbed from the small intestine, and also at the level of proximal convoluted tubule of the kidney. So they get excreted either through the feces or through the urine. So this is associate niacin deficiency, because we know now tryptophan, the major pathways involves the formation of niacin. So in heart-lung disease, tryptophan is not absorbed, niacin deficiency occurs, and these patients will also have pellagra-like manifestations characterized by 3D, diarrhea, dermatitis, dementia, and if left untreated, it can result in death of the patient. So this is how niacin deficiency is common among heart-lung disease or defective absorption of tryptophan. This itself can be asked as a 3-marker question. So easy way to remember this Hartnupp's disease is hard to absorb tryptophan. Now this is the overview of the entire tryptophan, which includes the major pathway and minor pathway. So quick summary of this: tryptophan in the major pathway is acted upon by a pyrrolase to form an formyl kynurenine, which donates a formyl group to tetrahydrofolate and gets converted to kynurenine. This undergoes hydroxylation to form 3-hydroxykynurenine. Aniline is removed from 3-hydroxykynurenine by kynurenase enzyme, which requires pyridoxal phosphatase coenzyme and gets converted to 3-hydroxyantranilic acid. Two pathways are there for this substrate. It gets converted to amino carboxymuconaldehyde, ketoadipic acid, and finally to acetyl CoA, and this is why tryptophan is ketogenic. And tryptophan also forms alanine. Alanine gets converted to pyruvate, and pyruvate forms glucose. So tryptophan is both glucogenic and ketogenic. This can be asked as a reasoning based question. Now 3-hydroxyantranilic acid also gets converted to quinolinic acid, which is acted upon by QPRTase enzyme with the PRPP as the the donor for ribose phosphate and gets converted to nicotinic acid, which undergoes phosphorylation with the help of ATP to form niacin. Active form of niacin include NAD and NADP. From 60 milligram of tryptophan, 1 milligram of niacin is synthesized, and this is a major pathway. In the minor pathway, tryptophan is acted upon by hydroxylase enzyme, which requires tetrahydropaprin as coenzyme to form 5-hydroxytryptophan. This undergoes decarboxylation to form 5-hydroxytryptophan or the serotonin. Serotonin undergoes acetylation to form acetyl serotonin, which undergoes methylation to form melatonin, and serotonin is degraded by monoamine oxidase to form 5-hydroxyindole acid. Tryptophan at the level of intestine is acted upon by transaminase to form indole pyruvic acid, undergoes decarboxylation to form indole acid. This gets converted by decarboxylation to scatol, indole, indoxyl sulfate and indicant. So this was the overview of the tryptophan metabolism. This itself can be asked as a long essay, 10 marker question, direct long essay. So that was all about tryptophan. So time for self-assessment to know how good you understood the concepts of tryptophan metabolism. Tryptophan is a precursor of all of the following except serotonin, melatonin, niacin, dopamine. Answer is dopamine because dopamine is derived from tyrosine and not tryptophan. So you can check out the previous video on phenylalanine metabolism to understand how dopamine is formed from. Next question, vitamin deficiency leading to plaque-like symptoms due to impaired tryptophan metabolism. Vitamin B1, B6, C and K. The answer is vitamin B6, where the PLP is the pyridoxal phosphate is the active form of pyridoxine, and this is required for kynurenase enzyme. So deficiency of this enzyme also predisposes the patient to develop pellagra-like symptoms because of decreased formation of Hartman's disease affects the absorption of basic amino acids, aromatic amino acids, sulfur containing amino acids and branch chain amino acid, and the answer is aromatic amino acid, or the answer is neutral amino acid. You can choose neutral amino acid if it is present in the option, and if the aromatic amino acids are mentioned, you can choose this. This is because the defect lies in the level at the level of small intestine or the PCT of the kidney. So here also pellagra like symptoms are there because of decreased formation of acid. Next question, serotonin is synthesized from tryptophan by decarboxylation, hydroxylation, oxidation, transamination, and the answer is hydroxylation. So tryptophan undergoes hydroxylation to form 5-hydroxytryptophan, undergoes this 5-hydroxytryptophan is nothing but serotonin. Melatonin is produced in adrenal gland, pineal gland, thyroid gland, pancreas. Answer is simple, pineal gland. So serotonin undergoes methylation with the help of S-adenosyl methionine, which acts as a methyl group donor to form melatonin in the pineal gland, and it regulates diurnal variation, circadian rhythm and the sleep. Next, carcinoid syndrome leads to deficiency of dopamine, niacin, epinephrine, histamine. Answer is niacin. Excess tryptophan is diverted to niacin in carcinoid syndrome. So normally 1% of tryptophan gets converted to serotonin. In carcinoid syndrome, more than 60% of the tryptophan gets converted to serotonin, and because serotonin, the major pathway is formation of NAD or the niacin, so this is affected, decreased niacin, and pellagra like symptoms are seen in carcinoid syndrome patients. So the next question, tryptophan hydroxylase requires which cofactor? Tetrahydropaprin, FAD, NAD, biotin. Answer is tetrahydropaprin. Same cofactor that is used to convert phenylalanine to tyrosine. Check out this pathway in the previous. Next question, major pathway of tryptophan degradation leads to formation of glucose, acetyl-CoA, NAD, lactate, and the answer is NAD. Kynurenine pathway which produces NAD, and the active form of which are the active form of. Next question, increased serotonin production is seen in phenylketonuria, alkaptonuria, carcinoid tumor, maple syrup urine disease. Answer is carcinoid tumor. So where more than 60% of tryptophan gets converted to. Next question, urinary marker for carcinoid syndrome is homovanillic acid, vanillyl mandelic acid, 5-hydroxyindole acid and xanthanuric acid. Answer is 5-hydroxyindole acid. So what's your MCQ score? If the score is more than 50%, it is appreciable. If the score is less than 50%, so redo watch the video immediately and solve all these MCQs. If the score is more than 50%, good. You can watch after a period of 1 week. So you can watch the complete playlist on protein metabolism to get the comprehensive picture. So the next video will be on histidine, alanine, glutamate, aspartate and branch chain amino acids. So thank you for watching this video. Please do like, share and subscribe if you find this video useful. Thank you.